Content warning. This podcast contains bones, blood, smut, and swear words.
Before we get into the good shit this week, we wanted to remind you that we launched a Patreon. For just a few bucks a month, you get extended games, brand new content, access to our notes and murder boards, and much more. So if you would like to contribute to our seed fund for Brooke's Garden, you can head to patreon.com/frontline5th or follow the link in the show notes. Okay, now back to that sweet, sweet bone zone action.
Action.
Act 1. Welcome, penitents. Hello and welcome to the Frontline Fifth, a Locked Tomb podcast where a couple of newborns that managed to achieve lictorhood explore the Locked Tomb series for the first time, while a couple of dried-out bone witches cackle over how little they really know. We're currently reading Harrow the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, and this week we are hiding behind a door eavesdropping so we can find out what's going on in chapters 50 and 51. I'm Marie. My name is probably 100% unique and no one has ever been named it before, which is why I'm constantly called Maria, and I actually confuse them and say, no, it's Marie A. What about you, Hannah? Have you ever had to share a name with a Hannah Prime?
I love Marie A. I think that's brilliant.
It's my middle initial.
I'm Brooke E, so I get that a lot.
Yup.
So in elementary school, there was another Hannah who was part of my social group, but also kind of my nemesis. Mm-hmm. And she was tiny and I was tall very early. So we were Hannah small and Hannah tall.
I love it.
That's adorable. Also, as a girl in the, growing up in the 90s and 2000s, I would have despised being Hannah tall. I bet that was traumatic.
I didn't mind because I loved being tall. I really wanted to hit 6 foot and I was really bummed that I did not.
Go big or go home.
But I will say that I switched from theater, which is like my first love of forever, to dance after being denied the role of either Fantine or Eponine in Les Mis explicitly because my theater director explicitly told me I was too tall to be a love interest.
Fuck off.
That shit. Wow.
Oh,
Trauma.
man. It's good shit. Well, also, I was like, but Fantine's not a love interest. It's fine. We can come back to it. Go ahead. Do a podcast, Marie.
Well, also with us today are tiny babies, Brooke and John. Brooke, John, have you ever had a name twin? Did they ever steal your sunglasses?
No. Well, I feel like there's probably Brooks out there in the world, but I never interact with them too much. I know there are Brooks out there in the world, let me clarify. It's not that uncommon of a name. But I'm going to one-up this a little bit. So I am a twin myself of a Brooke and a Blake. And then when I went to middle school, there was another pair of twins, boy-girl twins, that were Blake and Blair.
No.
What? Really?
Wow.
And
That's
that
crazy.
Blake asked me to homecoming one year. And I was a terrible date, and I feel very bad about it to this day. It's one of my big shames of life, but I feel like part of it was just being so unwilling to separate the novelty of Blake and Blair being basically brother sister.
Yes,
from,
that's
an actual
insane.
date. It was sad.
This is so sitcom-y.
Yeah.
I can't believe that was real life.
Yeah, there you go.
How about you, John? Do you have a name twin?
What do you guys think? Do you think I've ever bumped into someone named John in any social setting? Let's see. I would say every company I've ever worked for has had a John, in the business unit that I was working in before I got there. So I inevitably became just John. Actually, hold on. You can bleep that out, Marie, please. And thank you.
Your full name is everywhere. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, no, I always get called either John. So I end up going by my initials a lot. At a bunch of companies I've worked for, I've just gone by my first and last initials because it was just easier. And I actually had my boss introduce me to people like that because there were too many Johns already.
People just start calling you Junior?
JR.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
One step further.
Wasn't that an old TV show? Who Shot JR?
I don't know.
I think it is.
Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of Johns out there in the universe, and there's 30,000 people with my name in the United States, which I found out because my dad and I were on the red stripe list after 9/11 because apparently there was a John in the Northern, like the Irish NRA, who blew up a police car in like 1992 or something, like at the end of the Troubles. Whatever year the end of the Troubles was, some guy named John blew up a police car or something. Anyway, we were red striped for a little bit and then we got off the list after 9/11. That's my
That's so crazy.
fun story.
Wow, that's a lot. And a lot happens in these 2 relatively short chapters. So let's keep our first impressions short and sweet. We won't. You get 3 words to describe your feelings about these chapters. Go.
Right. Greek tragedy.
God's a dick.
Yes.
Best dad joke.
Genuinely sad and funny. That was 4. Sorry. Okay, yeah, let's head into the meme watch. So, strong off the bat, we've got, finally, we know that now a wake is awake remembrance of these valiant dead. Kia hua kote pai snap back to reality. Oops, there goes gravity. Which is, mashed together, a Shakespeare reference, the New Zealand national anthem, and Eminem.
Quite the trio.
I lost my mind. As you guys know, my wife videoed me reading these chapters and then sent it to you guys. So like I was just giggling along the entire time. Like I would say these are 2 of my favorite chapters in the entire series, just for like the sheer density of ridiculous jokes.
Did she show you the text thread that instigated having to be like, no, you have to video him?
We actually have to post the text thread. It's so
funny because she was like, I am going to sit and stare at him as he reads these chapters.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
And then I was like, I want video. And so she did.
You could say that this one person's name defines the entire series in how it incorporates references.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. So I really, really appreciate this characterization of genuinely sad, bordering on very funny.
Yeah.
Because it is completely ridiculous to have these things juxtaposed, but there is something really tragic about trying to encapsulate humanity. Like, it can't be done. And especially when you're trying to, like, encapsulate something that's effectively been lost and it doesn't mean anything anymore, and you're just holding on to little glimpses of it. Like, it is sad, but it's so fucking ridiculous. And then almost immediately afterwards, like, because he's being a dick, Jod calls her Commander Wake Me Up Inside.
Which is hilarious.
And you're just like, fuck you.
And I immediately start singing.
Apologies if I got that wrong.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh my God.
Like you're such an
What
asshole.
band is that?
Evanescence.
It gets stuck in my head every time. At this point, literally every time Commander Wake comes up, that song gets stuck in my head. Like, not.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Next up is The Eyes Have It, which is just simply a pun, but it counts.
It was funny.
counts.
I highlighted it. I'm glad we...
Yeah. And then I just want to point out exactly how much of a fucking troll I am, that I don't know how many episodes passed when we were doing the sitcom things, and I had Jod make the hi, like, hungry I'm dad joke to Harrow in my scenario.
Boo.
I did not pick up on this. Please explain.
It was so funny because it was that game where we were doing just like ridiculous over the top soap opera dramas, and Marie texted me beforehand and was like, if I make a dad joke, are they going to figure it out? And I was like, no, you have to do it.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I made Jod make this exact same dad joke in my scenario. So yeah, because he does, because again, he's an asshole. Hi, I'm not fucking dead. I'm dad. Like,
so much there.
So much there.
Exquisite.
And then the final meme is "It is finished," which, again, as the apparent Catholic nerd here, I'm not
Gotta
sure
have you.
anybody else caught it, but that is a Bible reference. That is what Christ on the cross says before he dies. It is
I did not catch that. I had no idea.
Which is interesting because that is what Mercy says as she kills God.
Yeah, there's, again, a lot there.
A lot of layers. Okay, so with that, let's try and get a good angle through the cracked door as we present Harrow the Ninth, episode 18. Genuinely sad, bordering on very funny. Act 2, no such thing as forgiveness.
This section of Frontline 5th is safe for anyone who hasn't read past Chapter 51 in Harrow the Ninth.
Let's recap. Chapter 50, Second House Skull, 30 minutes before the Emperor's murder. Gideon, original flavor, shoots Commander Wake Me Up inside. Gideon, the second, as in the second to be named that, not from the second house, because Gideon original flavor is from the second house, meets her dad. Chapter 51, Eighth House Skull. No one had to die. God asks for mercy. Mercy murders God.
I would like to point out that, was it John or Brooke? I don't remember which one of you said last episode where you're like, I'm going to be so mad if we just keep saying before the Emperor's murder, before the Emperor's murder, before the Emperor's murder, and he never actually gets murdered this book. And I was like, here you go.
You're like, don't worry.
Don't worry, guys.
It's a-coming.
This book is nothing but Chekhov's guns. Like, everything has a payoff.
That's true. Even soup has a payoff.
Any remaining guns that have been, they're yet to be fired. It's just like, there will be a payoff coming at some point in the future. It's so good.
That is so satisfying in Tamsin's way of writing. She doesn't leave you hanging forever. She leaves you hanging long enough that you tear out your hair, but when it's done, you're like, that was good. That was worth hair tearing.
Some people pay extra for that, sorry.
Brooke's face is priceless. Okay, Ianthe and our Gideon are off to see God, but when they arrive at the door to his chambers, it's already open. Reminder, that should be like a what the fuck if the RB is here because he's supposed to be sealed away.
In like an airless room.
Yeah, what the, like, even just like the outer door being open, it's like, well, who cares? Like, that's not gonna seal him away. Yo, why is he in his rooms?
There's air in the room.
Exactly. Like, he's not sealed
Every
away.
part of this.
They didn't seal him away.
Clearly not correct.
Yeah, and this is where Gideon's like, from Ianthe's reaction, she's like, I caught on pretty quickly. That's weird. So Ianthe, who reads as an absolute champion, snooper, eavesdropper, always has been, squirrels herself behind the door that leads from the foyer to the sitting room so that she can peek through the crack in the door with Gideon scooshing in beside her. And at some point they like wiggle themselves even further behind some like of the necromantic gauzy like nacreous robes or whatever. So they're like looking through gauzy robes too. It's just
Again,
ridiculous.
this is like delightful buddy comedy energy. Is like Ianthe and Gideon are like hiding behind a door, like snooping in.
I love that it's so ridiculous and so fucking predictable and so tropey and yet not at all. The fact that every time up to this point when you are about to get a very important piece of information, somebody's like gets cut off or like it's always like interrupted information. And then the way that you're going to get all of the fucking exposition and everything explained to you is because the characters who are like your like point of view characters now are literally listening behind a door. Like this should not fucking work, but it does, and it's so funny to me.
There's like a real, like if they ever make this into a TV show, they could do like a real cinematic shot of like one aviator lens and then like Ianthe's like obviously Bab's eye like peeking through the crack in a door. Like you could do so much fun stuff with that because of the eyes. Would love to see how creative they could get with some of these things. Fingers crossed for a TV show is basically what I'm saying.
I think you would want to do an animation. I think it could be really a bummer if you didn't really commit to understanding the world. And it's so much easier to do that in animation than with computer graphic like effects that are supposed to look real.
Okay, anyway, sidebar. So in the sitting room, Kitharea's zombie is tied to a chair with tendons, being interviewed/interrogated by Jod. And the body of Kitharea says, I charge you with acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part the human race. And Jod seems to be exhausted by all this. He's like, Commander Wake, I've heard all of this before. Ray's body, aka Commander Wake, demands that Jod address her by her full name, awake remembrance of these valiant dead, Kia Huakote Pi, snap back to reality, oops, there goes gravity, a chain of dead words that reach back 10,000 years, which Jod accurately characterizes as genuinely sad, bordering on very funny.
I'm really interested in post-nuclear apocalyptic fiction, which ultimately this kind of is. And one of the really famous books in that genre is called A Canticle for Leibowitz. It was written in, I believe, the early 60s. But it's set like 2,000 years after there's been this great purge of science and knowledge. And there are these people, these monks who have kept all of these books behind, and they illuminate them. They paint in the margins of these books that are Elle magazine and textbooks on electronics and, you know, like YA fiction, because they don't know what it means because no one can read anymore. And there's something that's so sad and beautiful about lionizing and focusing on these artifacts of humanity totally divorced from what they actually were. And especially when they were things that were simple or poppy or funny, or it's just all mashed together and the only meaning they have is that they are old, is that they connect back.
Well, and there's something to be said of like, maybe that's a little bit why we care so much about Shakespeare. Like, yes, it's good, but it's also like Eminem is good.
Yes. Absolutely.
Oh my God. This is basically saying that divorced with 10,000 years in between it, like
Eminem is going to be Shakespeare. Yeah.
is the high form of written verse. And speaking about the human nature.
One of the weird things here is that Wake knows his last name. She calls him Gaius.
Right? I thought that
so
was
too, yeah.
really
That's a
weird
great
too.
insight.
Yeah.
And she's like talking to him like almost familiarly, except that nobody else calls him Gaius.
Yeah.
I found it really weird. I was like, oh, that seems very familiar. And then I was like, no, it doesn't seem familiar. It seems like very like military, like you only talk to people from their last name, but also that becomes a sense of familiarity as well.
Blood of Eden's pretty old from what we know. It's supposed to be like an organization that was set on killing God in a lot of ways. So it's not necessarily surprising that they would have managed to hold on to his name and then pass it down as, you know, the enemy's name.
Yeah, nobody else would know his name.
The houses have deliberately forgotten it.
Right. The houses have deliberately forgotten the lictors' names even.
Yeah.
Like they are sacred relics that no one knows, but clearly Blood of Eden fucking holds on to words. Like,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's part of this too. I think they may actually have a better memory of who God is than the houses do.
They're outside the propaganda loop, right?
Let's be honest. They have their own
Yeah.
propaganda.
So Jod asks Wake why she went to the ninth house all those years ago. After all, there's nothing there, which massive slam on Harrow's entire family and culture out of nowhere. So why would she waste time on the smallest house rather than doing some serious damage to one of the bigger ones? And before we can even get into those details, in come Mercy, Morin, and Augustine striding into the sitting room without even noticing Ianthe and Gideon behind the door. Jod is worried about number 7, but Mercy could not give a fuck right now. Because there's no time for galactic revenants. It's time for a family showdown because the truth has finally come out. Jod attempts to introduce Mercy and Augustine to Commander Wake, but whoops, they've already met. Which is to say, Commander Wake met Mercy, who was the spokesperson for both lictors.
Nice.
Dun, dun, dun.
Judith Duders told us there was a traitor, but there were at least 2.
I mean, it depends on how you count it, I guess.
Yeah.
It's okay. We keep counting further
All
on.
right, let's keep
on.
going.
Okay, so Mercy, Augustine, and Wake have a brief argument, because group projects are hard, about the logistics of their failed mission. So what was that mission? The mission in question was an attempt to break into the locked tomb. Wake arrived at the ninth house armed with a baby, her own baby. She was supposed to use fetal dummies, whatever those are, provided by Mercy and Augustine, but when those died, she did in vitro fertilization on herself and spent 9 months carrying a baby that she nicknamed Bomb.
God.
Pursued by
So
Giddy
wrong.
One,
Crazy.
she
Harsh.
tried to get to the ninth house to open the tomb, but at literally the last moment, Giddy One pushed her out an airlock to her death. And so we're going to use Gideon's summary here because it perfectly sums up almost everything we know so far. We are looking at the woman I was pretty sure was actually my mother, wearing the body of a woman I'd had a crush on, who in turn had been wearing the identity of a woman she'd murdered, until I fell in a spike so that my boss could kill her.
So clean. What a synopsis.
Yeah.
I really love, there are several of these synopses in these last like chapters that I have been using because they really do, they say the whole thing. They're like, here's what happened in Gideon the Ninth and Harrow the Ninth. Got it? You know? And I appreciate it because frankly, it's pretty twisty. This is like several, talk about Shakespeare. Shakespeare loves to have people dress up as other people in like the most ridiculous ways, but he rarely has them go more than 2 deep. And this is like 3 or 4 deep, right? Oh man.
Look, it's complicated.
This is, yeah. I also, how fucking horrible for Gideon to be
To
sitting
hear.
there I know. She used to go and talk to her mother's bones to their niece. She like describes all of these things she had where she would make a secret language with the skeletons out in the fields in the hope that one of them was her mother. And what she found out is that she was just a tool that the mom did not want, planned to kill. Like, she was a bomb. She was a weapon. It's so fucking horrible.
Yeah, Mercy Morin a few chapters back saying, oh, how she would have hate being called mother.
And you're like, that checks out.
Now makes sense. Naming the baby. I love that she's like, oh, I even gave it a name for those 9 months. And you're like, aw, Bomb.
Bomb,
oh.
Yep.
Oh.
Exactly that.
In the summer, we don't get what the actual plan was once they open the tomb. The plan, we don't know what
right?
like the actual. Like,
well, let's. I want to talk about that after we kind of like get all the details out.
In comes the last lictor, Saint of Duty Giddy 1, who stops in the foyer to borrow our Gideon's aviators before heading into the sitting room. And Commander Wake looks at Giddy 1 just with absolute relief. I actually adore the way, like, I hope I can find it really
the description
quickly.
is wonderful.
While you're finding that, I just picture it was just like the scene from Terminator 1 where Arnold walks in and is like, I need your clothes, give them to me. And it's just like...
It's very much that, right?
It's just like... But I also love that he, like, you know, Giddy 1 makes no indication that they are there behind the door. He's just like, I'm going to take those, and then goes on to do his own thing.
Harrow, I will never forget the look on her face as long as I live or as long as I die. For the first time, she smiled, a small, dusty, crooked smile that was totally alien to Kithurea's mouth, which had smiled at me often, but never like that. It was the smile for your old cellmate who just landed back in prison. The one that told them that at least you were in it together. Or more correctly, the smile of someone stepping out of jail after serving a very long sentence, having seen someone there waiting for her. Someone whose presence meant total reprieve. Someone she hadn't expected. It was a little bit mocking. It was deeply relieved. It was a smile that said, "You came back for me?" And then he shoots her in the back of the head.
See, I would just like to give myself a little victory hat for, like, understanding the romantic current throughout this relationship from very
excellent.
early.
We'll give you all the points, Brooke.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100% deserved.
Although it's clearly complicated.
Right?
On the aviators point, it is my conspiracy. I don't care. This is not going anywhere. So this is where it starts and ends. I'm bringing it up here. It's my conspiracy that those are Gideon's aviators from 10,000 years ago that ended up crash landing on the Ninth with Commander Wake, and that's how Gideon ended up with a pair of aviators, which are so anachronistic otherwise.
Oh my god, that's hysterical.
He just took them back. He goes, "Those are mine."
Yeah.
I now believe that forever.
Yeah. I'm gonna believe that forever too. It turns out that number 7 ran away, and now Commander Wake's ghost is totally gone too.
Revenant free!
Which is something.
We have a sequel to the Noniad.
Right? What was happening in there that had run away? It was Ortis.
So John wants to know if Giddy 1 was aware that Commander Wake, when she got to the Ninth House, was pregnant. And the Saint of Duty admits that he knew, and he didn't tell John because he thought it was his baby.
Ah! Telenovela!
He'd been having an affair with Commander Wake for 2 years. It was complicated.
Ah!
Oh my god.
It could all, John, we can all be right, it turns out. We can both be right.
Yeah, but if we're both right, that means we were both wrong, too.
No, not entirely true.
So, yeah, that's right, people. If sleeping with the enemy counts as treason, we are now up to 3 traitors. You know what? Kithurea tried to murder John, too. That's 4 out of 4 lictors that we've met who are betraying their brother/emperor/god.
Kithurea
We
tried
have
to kill
never
God?
met a lictor. Oh yeah, Kithurea's entire deal was to try and lure Jod back into the system,
Oh,
which
that's
was
true,
like
true,
fundamentally
true.
dangerous for him and the houses.
Right.
We have never met a lictor who
That
did
wasn't
not
trying
try
to
to
kill
kill.
Yeah.
Or like fucking
You're right,
over
you're
in
right.
some way.
That's not a good
Yes,
track
exactly.
record. Yeah.
Giddy
Like Giddy
not
One is the best of
asleep.
those, who is like supposed to kill the commander of the enemy.
Yeah, I was just like, oh yeah, like the major like person that I'm supposed to be going after, also I'm sleeping with them and not telling you about it. Your main enemy?
Supposedly is very out of character, right? Mercy talks about him just like
something like remarkably unamorous or singularly unamorous or something.
Yeah.
No idea.
Commander Wake is special.
Riz.
Commander Wake's got some weird personality. Riz. Just Riz.
She's got his mirror image of being a cop, I think.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Seems
That's
like
really
it.
fascinating. Yeah.
So Jod, who really still does not understand the concept of being wrong, continues to insist that breaking into the tomb is impossible, even if you killed a lictor's baby for the thanergetic burst. And Augustine is just full of giggles because Jod is still missing the core concept because they weren't trying to kill a lictor baby. They were trying to kill God's baby.
Jesus Christ.
Dios apate major.
Nice job.
Said with such smugness. I love it.
Whatever. So the problem with a blood ward is that it can be spoofed with cells from a close relative, like a child. And while Jod was always careful where he spilled his blood, he was less careful where he put other emissions.
Specimen.
Although he does say that he was careful, and there's some back and forth, and Augustine just keeps saying, "Mercy morn."
Yeah, exactly. The wording sort of intimates that he did not actually come, but it just does not matter. Mercy is physically touching you at that point. She can do whatever the fuck she wants.
Right. And that's actually, again, one of my favorite TikTok, who I'm hoping we can get on. I think refers to this as the heist, directly, like heisting from his balls or whatever.
Yes!
Ew.
Oh my god, I love that.
Jesus Christ.
just disgusting and hilarious.
You
And
gotta-
also what is being described.
Avoid all the microplastics and just get it out of there.
Oh yeah, that's right. She could get a really pure sample.
Well, okay, and there's some
Good
weird
for
things about
her.
the sample too. One of the things that Wake says was that the sample stayed good to go for months.
Yes.
Yeah.
12 weeks.
The eggs were dead, but the sample was fine, which is why she did what she did.
Oh, so bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's right. So 20 years ago, Mercy and Augustine cooked up Dios Apate Major, the first heretical threesome, and they collected a sample and started work on cooking up a baby with the help of Wake. And
Augustine, not a good person, but there's this moment when he says, I imagine I might be hurting your feelings. God, I hope so. And I just really resonated with that.
That's one of those spots where shifting punctuation changes the meaning entirely.
Yes.
yes, exactly.
100%.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Dun, dun, dun,
I got a
I
ice
need to
cream and a
gaslight
beer.
you a little bit
Cheesecake
longer
ice
that
cream.
we were not going to throw you a fucking congratulatory
That is Prosecco, that
party
is not
for
fair.
saying since last season that Gideon was a child of God. Which, fuck
I'm
you,
so
by the way.
mad. This is okay. See, that's the thing. I expected John to come into the episode with his 3 words being I was right. I was so ready, but he's too good of a person. God, I hate that.
So for our
right, John.
listeners, we have thrown John a party for catching
I just
on to
got
something
a glass of-
bonkers.
A glass of Prosecco and a thing of raspberry cheesecake ice cream.
There is a theme here.
Gotta get that cheesecake. Gotta get that cheesecake. Oh my fucking God, John. My memory is that you did this during the recap of our last season, that you called that Gideon was God's baby.
Because
And
it
that is-
mattered that there was Gideon's
Yeah,
blood
it's so
under Harrow's fingernails. What a
Oh my
fucking aside! I
God.
kept going I hear you. It sounds totally plausible, but it's such a stretch.
But
I
also,
know,
here's the
'cause-
thing.
okay.
There are people who reread this book and don't get that until, maybe second or third read. And they're like, that's
Me.
how she got in! Including
This
me.
literally, it took me basically until we were doing this podcast in order to pull that together. I just thought Gideon was there and that was enough. But it's so explicit, the blood thing, and you caught it right away. And by the middle of this season, I was wildly fucking impressed. There was an episode where the 2 of you each had a correct parent and each thought that the other one's wrong. Yeah,
was so
it made me
funny.
so happy.
Because Brooke was like, no, Wake's the mom, but I don't think that she's, that it's
How would that happen?
God. Like, how would that happen? And then John's like, well, I guess it could be Wake, but I really don't think so. I think it's Tara, but it's definitely God's child.
God, this
We're
is
like,
so,
you're both
it's
right
amazing.
and wrong.
Yeah, I just want to say that if Tamsin wasn't such an intentional and excellent writer, I would sound like a crazy person putting a lot of this together. Like, there's breadcrumbs, but like there's a destination to the breadcrumbs, right? Like the issue is with a lot of authors, and like I'd be following the breadcrumbs to nowhere. Like I'd just be like, you know,
It's like, no, that was just a detail for ambiance.
yeah, it'd be like the episode of Always Sunny where it's like, you know, Pepe Silvia, he's like smoking the cigarettes and like connecting lines that don't exist, and
But Tamsin was doing that for you so that you could follow the lines.
yeah.
Oh God, just well done.
So
Congratulations.
impressive.
How is the ice cream?
I'm partly
Oh, it's
upset, but
excellent.
I'm so delighted for you.
Well, you got the other half, which
Yeah, you had the other half, which is also a ridiculous
Oh
goal.
God. You guys really fucking nailed it this season. I will
say
again, you're both fired.
I will say, I sent this to you guys right before this episode, a forward of somebody saying, I just genuinely can't believe that, like, that John and I have not actually read ahead for this book. To which I will point out, if you spend many hours after every 2 chapters of a book trying to think about what you read and how to verbalize what you think is happening and what you think has happened and what are the points that you are actually going to get you somewhere. You can do a lot with these books. Turns out, as John said, it's all there. You have to pay attention and spend hours looking at it.
You just have to be completely insane.
at this point, I've read Gideon 6 or 7 times, and I've read up to chapter 50 in Harrow 4 to 5 times.
Right.
That's true. It's really never our first read when we come onto this podcast.
Yeah, like
Unhinged.
So I read these chapters, my wife recorded it, and then I read them again in the middle of the week and took my notes, and then before we recorded, I read both chapters again just to have it fresh in my mind. So I guess
so like this week you've read it 3 times.
Yes. So the short story is I need another hobby because spending way too much time on this. But yes.
All right,
It's
listeners.
basically a research project.
Yeah, seriously, listeners, if you have suggestions for other hobbies for John, please feel free to email us at frontline5@gmail.com. We can buy him some sort of like pass to a rock climbing gym or something.
Okay, so after that detour, let's get back into the chapters again. So what happened to the baby? Because after all, Wake got pushed out of an airlock, so did it die en route? And nope. At this point, this is when Gideon pushes her way out into the sitting room and says, I'm not fucking dead! And John, being the charming individual he says, looks at her kind of puzzled and says, hi, not fucking dead. I'm Dad.
Incredible.
I also
Incredible.
It's amazing. It also is very funny, and I appreciate that Tamsin points this out directly. She is fucking dead.
Right, she is. Yeah, she's like, which wasn't even true.
Not even true.
I do think that is one of the best possible things that Gideon's biological father could say to her, just in like a set of like akin personality traits.
That's true.
That's
where she got her punniness.
But also taking these incredibly like dramatic, serious, life-changing, altering moments that, you know, upend your entire sense of self, and then putting a really dumb joke on top of it as the only thing that you say out loud.
Undercutting it immediately. Yeah.
We start the next chapter with like just, again, some of like, for me, some of the most heart-wrenching.
Before we get to the heart-wrenching stuff, can we just, this is a callback to, I think, probably I want to say the wrap-up of Gideon, where we were talking about, like, why did God want more lictors? And it's just like, well, all 4 of the currently, you know, like, recently alive lictors all want to kill him in some way. So, like, yeah, he probably needs new lictors.
That.
He doesn't, I don't think he realizes it.
But, like,
he's so oblivious to any possible danger to himself, which I find... it's crazy to me how far you get into this chapter before he realizes that you can open the fucking locked tomb. Of course you can. And he's been told this now for months. Like, Harrow told him ages ago that she did it. And he's like, oh, no. Everything I do is perfect and impenetrable. You know what's not impenetrable? Your testicles.
No, I think most men would tell you that they're very vulnerable, actually.
God complexes are dangerous, I think, is the lesson here. Although maybe not. He's done well for like 10,000 years. That's pretty... Maybe it's actually an advertisement for a God complex.
Is it a God complex if you're actually God?
It kind of like, is it paranoia if they're actually following you?
Yeah.
Fair.
That reminds me of my favorite joke I saw like the last few weeks here. People think the Pulitzer Prize is the highest, award in journalism. No, it's actually getting killed by the CIA.
Oh, no.
That's pretty funny, though. That's when you know you've made it. Yeah.
It's like, oh, were they actually following you? Yes, they were.
So in the next chapter, we have Gideon reflecting on her childhood with Harrow. And saying, like, when Gideon was little and Harrow was picking on her, she used to try and come back at Harrow with, what if my dad is really important? Like, the most important guy in the world. And Harrow would tell her that it doesn't matter who Gideon's parents were because they didn't love her and they weren't coming back for her. And Gideon would say at least her parents loved her more than Harrow's parents loved Harrow. And it turns out neither of their parents loved them very much. Like, they were both tools.
Yeah.
And they've always been tools. And they'd fight, and Harrow, like at least one of these fights, Harrow clawed Gideon's face bloody, and Gideon like pummeled her so hard all she could do was crawl away and vomit. And I think she says, is that the day that you decided you wanted to die? Which mirrors Harrow saying previously, right? Like, that was the day I decided I wanted to die, and that's when I went and opened the tomb. The line that kind of kills me is the line that finishes this off, which is, she says, you remember how the fuck off great aunts always used to say, suffer and learn? If they were right, Nona Gesimus, how much more can we take until you and me achieve omniscience?
I mean, these like devastatingly abused and neglected children who, by the way, are spending most of their time abusing each other, but it's still the most attention they're getting, right? That's still the most important relationship in their life, are these fights with one another over who is least loved.
And it turns out they're both tools. Neither one of them mattered to the people who they should have mattered to most.
Maybe, except even another layer of tragedy is that, like, God has actually shown capability, or the capacity for, like, nurturing people and, like...
Kind of. I noticed this read-through that, like, creeped me out so much. Do you notice his therapy speak when he's talking to Wake?
I guess not.
He's like, tell me more about that.
Yeah, I guess.
Like he's talking to her like therapy speak, and it just reminds me of, like, it gives me the creeps because it reminds me of the way that really smart people who are a little bit sociopathic will use. If they go to therapy, they just learn how to weaponize it.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, I think he's always playing good cop. I think he always sees himself as good cop. He's trying to help you, man. Like, trying to, like, make sure that you get what you need. And, like, you've done some bad things, but he's going to forgive you probably.
The kindly master.
Yep.
Yes, he's giving that all the time. It's, but there's a couple of things he says in this next chapter that, like, freak me out very badly.
Back here we are in the real world. Gideon's dad is God, and it turns out that this whole fantasy books plot came down to genetics because Gideon's eyes tell a story.
And we couldn't figure it out. We could not figure it out.
How would you?
I struggled.
There's no way you could have. It's so insane.
We, like, talked about it, but, like, we didn't have enough to make anything definitive.
Yeah, we kicked it around, like, for... Because you and I went back when we were murder boarding for probably, like, a half hour trying to figure out, like, what the hell the eyes meant. And, like, we just couldn't...
Well, we knew
nothing.
It meant that it was one of them, but, like, and I even think I said it at some point that, like, God, we don't know what God's eyes looked like beforehand, and so that's a possibility. Yep. But, like... Yeah. Because he wasn't born with those. He was a human, but... I mean, we just didn't have enough to, like, settle on one idea, and then you were always on, like we were in the right area. Give yourself a point.
It is complicated, though, and Tamsin takes some time to lay it out here so that you understand what the fuck happened.
Gideon's gold orange eyes, kind of like a cat's eyes, I imagine them kind of like lion, goldish, Sphinx. Amber eyes, are the same eyes that the lictors remember seeing every day in A.L.'s face, a.k.a. Annabelle Lee, a.k.a. Annie Laurie, a.k.a. Alecto, a name that God fucking hates.
Alecto is a wild name.
Why?
Well, all right, so, Greek mythology, Alecto is one of the Furies, right? Which we can get to in a little bit here as part of rampant speculation, but she specifically is the Fury that punishes the hubris of man, like punishes humanity as opposed to one of the other Furies that punishes gods. She's the one that comes after humans and causes madness and vengeance.
Okay.
So AL remains a complicated subject. Augustine and Mercy continue to maintain that she was a monster in a human suit and bad in every single way. They thought that Jod was just sentimental over her because she was with him at the beginning. And the Arbies were partly coming for her, so they begged Jod to kill her. But as he said, Annabelle Lee was not the dying kind, so he just kind of switched her off. And all of that sort of makes sense until you look at Jod's power, which cannot be easily explained.
Mm-hmm.
So Mercy and Augustine tried to figure it out and realized that maybe Jod didn't kill AL because he couldn't, because his power depends on her, because AL was his cavalier in a perfect form of lictorhood.
I love that they figured this out via what is God afraid of?
Yes.
Right. And what is God afraid of? There's something about the tomb that frightens him. Harrow was always taught that this would be like smashing the oxygen machine, that opening the tomb is the death of God.
This is actually something that like Hannah and I have been like, well, so what did they actually think that they were going to accomplish? Wake actually says it here, and I've skipped it so many times. She says they were looking for a sample. They were looking to see, like, is she dead?
Yeah,
that's what they
kind of
wanted
what
to
it
know.
sounded like. So that is what the mission was. It's a fact-finding mission.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, collateral damage, I think, as part of it that like seems like the point, but it's not the point.
All of this gets explained. So Gideon's genetics, which she gets from Commander Wake and God, so the red hair is from Wake and the yellow eyes are from God, include recessive lipochrome coloring. And to get those orange eyes, she needed 2 parents with the allele for orange eyes. So in other words, God's DNA codes for orange eyes, even though his apparent eyes are black oil slicks with white rings.
And apparently Commander Wake's does too, which is...
But that absolutely. So literally this would not have happened except that both parents had this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, and normally when a lictor ascends, they end up with their cavalier's eyes. But what if there's an alternate form of lictordom, one where both parties stay alive and their eyes just switch? You'd get AL with orange eyes, originally belonging to Jod, and Jod with crazy oil slick eyes that initially belonged to AL.
Which also makes so much sense, just given the fact that, like, they keep describing AL as not human and a monster, and his eyes are so obviously inhuman. His eyes are bonkers.
Yep.
Craziness, yeah.
The deep trauma of this is that it proves there's a version of lictorhood where you don't have to murder your best friend for power and eternal life. Alfred, Pyrrha, Titania, Valency, Nigella, Samael, Loveday, Christabel. They all died for nothing. They were used as batteries for no reason.
And Pal was right.
And Pal was right. This is wrong.
How God takes and takes and takes.
And even more so, Anastasia didn't fuck up in her attempt to become a lictor. She almost had it right, almost managed to do the perfect swap. Jod says he stopped her because she was panicking and would have killed them both.
Okay, so do we think that when you do a perfect lictorhood, you get this like crazy white lemon pledge smelling power? Or is that a feature of lictoring AL?
I think that's a really interesting question because, like, once again, we get that very specific description of Jod's power. And I don't know the answer, but it is clearly something about
she's not
the
human.
way he has done this. That's right.
So it's either the procedure or the cavalier
that is giving him
origin.
His specific power.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't have enough information here.
Well, I think that's important when you're listening to this and trying to decide whether or not to believe him, because if she's a threat, then to his like godhood, if it's just simply creating the perfect lictor bond, then it could be a lie. But if his power stems from Electo, then that's different. Then it could be right.
After Jod is explaining what happened with Anastasia, is that the truth or the truth you tell yourself? Asked Augustine. What is the difference? Said God.
God's a dick.
You're not wrong, John. That's very accurate. But beyond that, I think this is the single most insidious thing in the entire chapter for me. Like, it is, I think it is deeply dark that he did this thing, that he let all these people experience this horrific trauma and let all these people be murdered for no reason. But somehow the thing that is most upsetting is this idea that he will just believe whatever he wants to believe and there is no other truth. I think it diminishes absolutely everyone around him on this fundamental level. And it also is fucking terrifying because it means you can never believe anything he ever says ever fucking again, because his truth is his truth. Like, you can't, it's not even that he's lying.
Everybody's truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
His truth will be made to be everybody's truth.
It's fucking scary. It's really, really, really scary.
I guess to kind of expand that point, here we get the suggestion in these chapters, or maybe a confirmation that nobody else like, everybody else is a resurrection. These lictors were resurrected and don't remember what happened beforehand. Remember, it was he talks about Augustine, the man you were before the resurrection, would have been so upset to hear that. Like, clearly they were friends. They had like strong passions. There was probably like, you know, a goal. And then when they woke up, or when they were resurrected, like, they didn't remember any of it. And they're basically being told that the reason that they're here, they have a mission, 10,000 years, kill your best friend, is based off of God's word. And now we can't trust that is any of it's true.
The thing he says that after is like, you know, stop, which we can get to, like, stop the bewildering cartography, this invasion force that puzzled over for 5,000 years. And I don't believe I truly understand it now, but let it go, let him go. Nobody has to be punished anymore for what happened to humanity. And The emperor turned to look at him. Augustine, if the man you were, before you died, before the resurrection was here, what you said, he'd tear your throat out. So it's like, zealot? That's like very like zealotry. Like, it's like Augustine was like, you know, if God is the Jesus figure, then, like, you know, Augustine was an apostle before he was, you know, resurrected, right? So yeah, that's crazy.
Or I think it just says that there was, you know, like, some tragedy in humanity and they had a plan, and potentially, and now we don't know really who's at fault.
Who do you believe? Who was at fault? What happened? What were the mistakes? We don't know.
Because God gets to define what reality is and what truth is.
Mercy says, you could have just told us, and, like, why we were doing this. Like, if you hadn't lied to us about it, I would have forgiven you. And he says, you say you that, but you wouldn't have. And she says, no, I really would have. She says she'll forgive him if he simply tells her that he loved Christabel and he never wanted any harm to come to her. And he tells her what she wants to hear. He says he's so sorry, just so sorry. And she collapses into his arms weeping and says through her tears, I forgive you everything, Lord. I think it's really interesting too that, like, before this, she's telling, like, Augustine, like, tells her, like, don't do this.
Yeah.
It's almost like he can tell something's going to happen. And she says, you never loved him as much as I did. This is the moment. This is a chance for unlovable Mercy Morn, critical Mercy Morn, to show she's the most capable of her name. I am the second saint to serve the king undying. I will teach you a lesson in forgiveness.
Told you she would kill him for his own good.
She slides her hands into him and explodes him into component atoms. And she says, it is finished.
Again, breadcrumb, which is just hilarious, which is that, like, the only, like, Mercy Morn has honed her like, her powers over here. Like, the only reason you would need it is to kill a lictor, right?
Yeah. Or God.
Or God.
Yeah, or God.
So God was an idiot here, because the second somebody sits down and says, I'm going to tell you what I want to hear in order to feel better, and you think that's going to work, you're doomed. It's not going to work. They're more pissed at you than ever that you don't know what's wrong and they have to feed you.
Yes.
I shouldn't have to tell you what to say here. This is like, that's funny.
Yeah.
These chapters are so amazing. These chapters are so intense. We learn enormous amounts very, very quickly. And we also really, we see a lot of the underlying harm and tension that is underneath everything that has happened in this book.
And like we pointed out, like, we're going to finish the book next week, but it's so insane that it has been building and building and building and building. And you've been getting a little bit, and you've been saying this entire time. Like, we've been doing this for like 6 months at least. And you guys have been like trusting the process, but like continually saying, like, the past few episodes, we got so many more puzzle pieces and we still have no idea what the puzzle looks like. And then it's like all at the end you go, boop,
You finally can connect them all.
It's just a wild experience, I think.
We were too prepared.
It's all coming together.
With that, God's dead, so it's time for a game.
Woo! Party.
Interstitial. Suffer and learn. So look, you gotta get up awful early in the morning to murder a god, or even to murder a lictor. In the end, it took Mercy 10,000 years of anatomy lessons and some pretty killer acting there at the end.
Good God.
Boo.
This book has really been quite full of attempted murders, which is why this week we're playing How to Get Away with Murder. In this game, each of our hosts will come up with a murder plan for how to destroy one of our fine lictors. Keep in mind the degree of almost absolute invulnerability. So this is like a heist, but with a lot more dying.
What a weird assignment.
Yeah, how are we going to kill Giddy One? Who took up that assignment?
I think it's me. I really wanted to play this game for weeks because all of these like attempted murders by Giddy One to Harrow, and then Harrow's soup and the like bomb fragments, like I think it's kind of a fascinating question. And the answer is that you have to cheat. I think you cannot do this one-on-one. I think that Giddy One seems like he is the saint of duty. He seems like an honorable person. So I think you challenge him to a duel. But you have booby-trapped basically the entire room.
Oh, wait. You mean like the very first fight this entire book?
Yes. Well, like that's exactly right. I think you... Yes. So I think what you do is you seed the whole room with your skeletal constructs, but you challenge him to a fair fight, and you explode them simultaneously. So of course... he is able to like kill things or not kill things.
Drain.
He's able to like drain Thanergy, right?
Yeah.
Like he's a Thanergy void, but he clearly has to do it with intention. So I think you should be able to overwhelm him if you do enough simultaneously. But my backup plan is that I think you could also literally seed part of the room with bombs, like literal just explosive devices. Don't fucking rely on necromancy to do your job when a large, I'm trying to remember in Tremors.
Household chemicals in the right proportions.
Just remember that household chemicals in the right proportions are almost as good as a skeletal construct. So that's what I've got for Giddy One. I think you may go out in the process, but I think you could kill him.
There you go.
Okay. How are we taking out Augustine?
Oh, well, that's very easy. See, I'm building a large, basically like Wile E. Coyote trap. It's a cardboard box held up with a stick. And we're setting the trap with a box of Cuban cigars, a French 75.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yes. For those of you at home, it is a gin drink
cocktail
with lemon juice and champagne.
Yeah.
And then probably like, I don't know, like a Frank Sinatra record on like a ye old record player. Just like, something bougie. And then as soon as he like picks up something, it drops down and then it's basically just a giant slap chop because they can't reform things. So we're just blades, lots of blades, no necromancy, nothing that he can like mess with.
Mechanical.
Just lots of sharp guillotine like things chopping him up into tiny bits.
This was great, John. I love that the core is just luring him there with like a first edition Hemingway and Frank Sinatra. Like,
Love it. What about Mercy Morn?
I have the exact same outline as John, basically, but like Hannah, it's also similar, is that there's got to be a tactic. There's got to be a distraction, a lure, in order to get them vulnerable, and then you chop them up. In my exact plan, I think Mercy Morn needs to be distracted by like something like a House episode. Something that's a little bit medical mystery, but like full of incompetence.
So she can argue with it and be like, be like, that's not right.
It's never lupus.
that's great.
Obviously, it's lupus, guys. From the very beginning. No, so I think we get her in front of a House episode, but we saw that the Herald bolts did a lot of damage and like getting her down. So I think we distract her with the house episode to get the chance to get some Herald like cannonballs basically in her. Which is just what we need to distract her enough to put her head first through a wood chipper. And wood chippers are highly undervalued as a murder weapon, except in the movie Fargo, in which it was finally used. Wood chippers are the ultimate murder weapon.
Okay, well, so my task was to kill Ianthe, and I don't think that mine's actually going to work, but it's going to be poetic justice, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume that I have kind of like the powers of a Harrow as a lictor, and also like I've boned up a little, and have like actually learned a little bit of flesh magic too. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to essentially encase her in an everlasting gobstopper that's like layers of like fat and then bone and then fat and then bone and then fat and then bone so that she like gets a dose of her own fucking medicine. And then we just chuck that into the river.
To be fish
like
food.
That.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually.
She really didn't like being in the river. I think that's solid.
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of like, she
And
really did not like
I like the idea that you're
river.
coating her in sugar. I feel like she'd hate that too.
Well, I don't know necessarily sugar, but I just really want her to be like, the first layer is like she is suffocating in her own like fat bubble.
It's fucking disgusting.
You know what I mean? Because she's so fucking disgusting with the fat. So it's like fat bubble and then like everlasting bone and then like another fat bubble. So that's like when she breaks out of like the bone, she's just still in another fat bubble and then bone and then fat bubble bone, right? And then like you just chuck that whole thing in the river so that like by the time she's broken out, like the ghosts are ready to get her.
This is very compelling. I like all of this.
Doopity-doo. I have another puzzle for you.
Oh my god, imagine
do you
creepy.
get when your lictor's a brat?
Imagine like creepy Oompa Loompas that are all like half bloodied and ripped off all in the river.
I literally immediately can imagine that.
Yeah.
That's pretty horrifying.
Yeah, well, so nice to know that we fit in with the rest of this murderous cast of characters. So it's now on to rampant speculation. Act 3, Bloody Truth and Blessed Ignorance. So Brooke and John may be newborns, but their conspiracy theories are as good as any 10,000-year-old lictor. So Brooke and John, what the fuck is happening?
Man, I really wanted to know what Dulcinea had to say in these chapters. But we didn't get that. I think we know what's happening now. Sort of.
Yeah.
What we don't really know is what's happened to the body, who Electo really is.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen to Harrow and Gideon. And Blood of Eden seems to be bigger than God thinks it is at the moment. I mean, I feel like these are continuing lines into the next book, probably.
Yeah, I from what Wake shared, it sounds like, I think our speculation about Blood of Eden basically just being like the response to what sounds like a genocidal god kind of just tracks. Like they're like the remnants of humanity that it sounds like I think we got pretty close, but like Wake seems to be under the impression that God like basically nuked the earth to use the bloom to lictor death or like the spirit of the solar system or something like
it's unclear that God is not initially responsible for the nuke at the beginning, right?
Yeah, it sounds like Wake thinks that he killed everybody to like
that he was the father of the atom bomb or whatever. Yeah. So but like then what does that make AL or Electo? It's interesting because like I still think Electo's death.
Yeah.
The embodiment of it's a deal with the devil sort of situation, just purely that.
It's also funny because Electo is the child of the earth goddess and the sky god in Greek mythology.
Okay, tell me more about Electo. So you started this, she's one of the Furies, is what you said?
Yeah, so basically you have Zeus and the pantheon of gods. Zeus's father is Kronos, right? The Titan. But before even the golden age of mythology, which is like Kronos and the Titans ruling the earth, you have the original gods, which are Gaia the earth goddess, and then Uranus. It's Uranus and another one who is the like sky god, basically. It's like sky god and earth god are killed by Kronos to originally become god, and then it's repeated when Zeus overthrows Kronos by chopping Kronos into tiny bits and throwing him into Tartarus. So, like,
But the Furies were around concurrently with
The Furies are older than Zeus and the gods. They're contemporary with Kronos because they're spawned from the blood of Uranus hitting Gaia, the Earth.
Okay, gotcha.
So my current theory is that like the missing resurrection beast is Alecto. Like it's like the captured soul of the Earth that he resurrected when they like nuked everything and became God. I just don't know how to square it, but like that would also line up with the fact that God says that like everyone, like all of the lictors would be like her children, which like makes sense if she's like the Earth, right? Because like we're all of humanity is children of the Earth.
He could also be saying that because he did a lictorhood, and so in a way they are all her children because he is an actual lictor, just in a weird way. Like in other words, she was his cavalier, and so in a way they are all her children.
Yeah, I don't know how to square like was he God before the like how did the resurrection actually happen? Like was he God beforehand? Because he didn't lictor like Alecto is gets created post resurrection, it sounds like.
Not obviously from what I've interpreted.
Yeah, it's
to me it makes sense that he got his resurrection powers through the process of lictoring her, which is like just a classic situation of like I've fucked up and here's what I'm going to, or something's been fucked up, nuclear war, everybody's gone. How do I get them back? I'm going to do a deal with this god of some sort. To me, I don't understand how we could have fucked the river up so much by capturing the soul of Earth. Like to me, it's got to be something related to the afterlife. And I'm not exactly sure how the god background of Alecto makes sense in that case, outside of the fact that it's interesting that you said that she's the fury of, or she's what, she punishes humans and causes vengeance and madness. Like that sounds like God.
Just from reading it sounds like Alecto is not God's name for her, right? He calls her Al, but like all of the lictors think of her as Alecto, like a literal like, you know, embodiment of vengeance and fury.
Yeah. So that makes some sense, but it's not entirely certain to me that she would represent the soul of the Earth versus something related to the afterlife, and that would be the reason that the afterlife is so
I think she's a resurrection beast.
You think she's an RB, the missing RB?
We're still missing an RB.
Oh, and you think it's the one of like from Earth?
Like God becomes death. God makes a deal with the devil to like. Ew. I don't know. Like there's just too much there. Like there's something there. Like
you're right. I forgot about the missing RB.
We're missing an RB. We went too non-literal with the names in the first book. The spirit of vengeance created by like the Earth and John. That would make sense for her name being Alecto. And like she hates the other lictors. Like if she's the resurrection beast, maybe the other resurrection beasts are after her because, you know, missing resurrection beast. I don't like. There's something there, or like maybe it's literally death, and like like he just resurrected the resurrection piece. I don't know. Like there's something there, and I don't understand what it is. Like I can't square the circle. One thing we did float was like probably 3 or 4 episodes ago, where it's like maybe the resurrection beast attached to like the soul of Al when like John did the resurrection, and like that's what Alecto is. Like that's a possibility.
Well,
so it's it's like a combination of like death and like the crazy mad spirit of Earth.
I mean, there's something else here, which is that, like, I don't know, like, gods don't typically have human bodies that could, I don't know, be like if she's the body that's in the tomb, that body is someone special to him, even pre-resurrection. Maybe that's the reason he doesn't like calling her Alecto, is because Annabelle Lee was the body, and then there's a spirit inside the body that is Alecto.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I'm not sure like what his vengeance is for at the moment, right? Like we don't understand what his vengeance would be at the beginning. Unless it's again, I don't understand what the initial vengeance track is. What was the point?
Yeah.
If it doesn't seem to be like purely like, oh, I want to bring humanity back, so then what is it?
Yeah, because that was my last question I have here, which is what are we invading? Is it like, are we invading death? Are we invading the river? Like, did they dam the river? Like, did Augustine build the barriers that like dam the river? And is that why the river's all fucked up? Like, he's assembling like an army of souls to like invade death or something? Like what is his invasion plan? Like, Augustine says he's like been working on it for several thousand years and he still doesn't understand why he's doing it. Like, did God fuck up the river in a way to like, and he's killing everyone to basically fuel the army of souls stuck in the river?
Maybe he's looking for Annabelle Lee's soul.
Oh, so that would force out the resurrection beast soul? Like if you get the, like souls want to come back to their body, like they talk about that souls always want to come back to their natural body. So if you can find Annabelle Lee's soul, is this whole thing a oh my god, the Greek mythology where he has to go to the underworld and bring the soul, Hades Town? What am I looking for?
Orpheus in Eurydice.
Yes, thank you. Is it like an Orpheus situation where we've got to go into the underworld and bring Annabelle Lee's soul back to get the resurrection beast out of the body?
Maybe.
I'm sorry, can we pause? Did you just make a musical reference in the middle of that?
Did he?
Did you reference Hades Town?
Yeah, but I've never seen it.
Too funny. Okay, go on.
So the other things I have here, why does Commander Wake know John's last name? Which is weird. Like, we still haven't figured that out. Blood of Eden clearly has some knowledge of, like, Earth culture. Or, like, prior to Earth. Which I think fuels my conspiracy theory that they're, like, the escaped humanity that got off planet.
Yeah.
And that's why John's trying to kill them.
They definitely are, like, something of an alternate timeline compared to, like, the necromancy houses, the houses of necromancy. And they're more recent than the resurrection. Didn't he say that it was like 5,000 years old, which...
Well, they ran into them 5,000 years ago, but they were older than that. And then my last question here, is there something weird going on with the eyes of Giddy One? The sunglasses thing is, like... I do like your thing that, like, those were originally his sunglasses, but, like, also, like, why are you putting on sunglasses before you go in there except to, like, hide your eyes?
Nah.
So, like, something weird's there.
I just think aviators are cool, and I think he's got aviator vibes, personally, which is why I think that they were his initially. Where is the body? Who is the body?
In the tomb.
No.
Electo.
I'm asking about the Harrow's little hallucination ghost. That has been MIA, and we're not entirely sure what she went off to do. And is that Electo? Do we think that is Electo that came out of the tomb with her and is like
a portion
in
getting
some like
haunted?
weird?
Yeah.
Is it a ghost? Is it is this just what it is to have like a god just hanging out with you, or a fury? I guess. Like, what the fuck? Like, and where'd she go? Is she in cahoots with the RB? Is she the RB? Like, how does that work?
We're missing an RB, and then we're missing how God got his, like, godly powers versus a normal lictor. Like, is it like that becoming a perfect lictor turns you into a god, in which case, like, he's even more of an asshole than we originally thought because he, like, kept the process of godhood from the rest of the lictors? Mm-hmm. Or is it that he, like, lictored death, and he's just, like, a mega lictor?
Right. Yeah. Unclear. Well, we covered a lot, and obviously, round of applause to us for really sniffing out a lot of clues for this book, and there's still some mysteries, but like, shit. Every week I ask who the body is, and we don't know that yet. But we figured out a lot.
It's death, or it's like the solar system. Like, one of the it's the
it's either
like
death
the spirit,
or God.
It's the spirit of the solar. It's the spirit of the solar system. Like,
we're really throwing things.
Yeah, if the planet is
at the wall.
If the planet's a soul made up of all life, then why wouldn't a solar system have a soul
pacing.
made? Why wouldn't a solar
literally pacing?
Yeah, why wouldn't a solar system have a soul made up of like all the planets, right? Like, and then why wouldn't did he like lictor the galaxy via like killing all of humanity? Like, I don't.
Hold on, I don't like. Okay, I want to. Let's come back to the idea of what are gods in this book series, because there's like God is like Jod is a god.
Lemon scented freshness. Yeah.
Yes, but like even when he talks about the original RBs, like it's not. There are no gods. Like he talks about that the soul of the planet is like the collective life forms on the planet creates a single soul, almost like a multicellular organism. But like nobody's talking about that as being a god. They're talking about that as being a collective soul. If that is what a god is here, then okay. But like it's unclear how that translates in. And the river is obviously this weird like thing that we can't really explain either. But so I don't know. The concept of there being gods in this world is a little bit awkward to me.
Humans have souls though, and but also planets have souls made up of the life that's on it, which would in theory include humans. So like planet souls are giant souls, or like a conglomeration of
like teacher.
Yeah, like is it like a anyway? I
don't know.
I'm just rambling at this point. But it sounds like God's a piece of shit and nuked 10 billion people.
Yeah, it just seems a little awkward for there to be a concept of like gods being a real thing at the same time that I say that Electo is a devil or death or something like that. And I don't know how to square all those things, but at any rate.
I'm shooting my shot. God damned the river, fucked up the river to go on his his quest to rescue. I really like your theory.
He fucked up Death.
Yeah, he fucked up Death. They damned the river.
He's looking for somebody's soul. He's looking for Annabelle Lee's soul.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I actually like that. Let's go with that. We went all over the place. We backtracked, we forward tracked, we sidetracked. I threw out like 6 different theories. Honestly, at this point, I don't know if I could be wrong because I don't know if
I could be wrong. Okay, John.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not going to be right, but I don't think I'm wrong. Like I think
we're going to see what's stuck and take credit for it.
Yeah. What is it? Like I always play all sides, so no matter what, I come out on top. Like that's how this feels. I threw out like 8 different options of where this book could go.
And then everybody's going to think that we're way too smart. Hell yeah.
You guys we got to take you down a peg or something.
I'm not worried about it.
Uh-oh.
Jesus Christ. How wrong were we?
We'll see if any of this happens next time when John and Brooke pick sides in Harrow the Ninth Chapters 52, 53, and the Epilogue. That's right. Next week we are finishing Harrow the Ninth.
Holy shit.
That's crazy.
Doesn't make sense. These books have no sense for pacing.
And if you, dear listener, are like Brooke and me reading along for the first time, make sure you find our reading calendar on our website, frontline5th.podbean.com, or follow us on Instagram or TikTok. And to support us, you can buy merch or join our Patreon, all of which are linked in the show notes. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends and give us a 5-star rating anywhere you can. And if you don't like it, feel free to lie. Now head off to sleep, my baby necros. Mommy and Daddy have some deep spoilers to discuss.